Welcome back to another episode of Poor Decisions with
Robyn
and Liv. We're back today in the Four Shells Cava Lounge. Cheers.
What's the one we're having today?
It's called the G Bowl.
Did you find out why?
I think, look, I might be butchering this, but this is what my friend told me when we came here. I think it's because there's 4 booster shots in it. So,
whoa, so literally like,
yeah, like
gangster bowl.
Gangster bowl, yeah, like woo, G bowl. So we got one last time we were here, you and me. No, we didn't. That's a lie.
No, we didn't.
We got one with the booster shots.
Yeah,
so
we just got a booster. We never got all 4 boosters.
So this is with 4 booster shots. So
this is the one where she felt a little funny at the end.
I did feel a bit funny at the end.
In a nice way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
In the best way.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, great. Well, let's talk about today's topic, which is...
La felicità or la bonheur.
happiness.
Happiness. That was Italian and French. Just FYI.
So we're all about Italian French viewers. We're like, yes!
Yeah. My one Italian friend, this is for you.
Just for you. And for the French friends you have yet to make.
I know most of my family and friends in Canada are French.
Oh yeah, speak Canadian French though,
yeah,
right?
Canadian French.
Yeah, I was going to say one time I was watching a movie with one of my friends who is French from France. And I looked at her and I was like, what are they saying? And she was like, I don't know, they're speaking Canadian French.
Oh,
But she was like,
it's so dramatic.
Well, the French are. And
it's actually,
so
it's actually crazy that you say that. That's like one of my wildest stories in New Zealand. When I first moved here, I was working in an Italian restaurant. And this guy came in and he heard me say something because it was an Italian restaurant, so I was talking to the chefs. And he heard me say something and he's like, oh, like in French, do you speak French? And I was like, yep. And so we started chit-chatting. We were talking for like 10 minutes. And then he asked me a question and I said, wine, which is in French proper, you say oui.
Oui, yeah.
Like yes, oui.
And you're saying
in
Canadian.
Quebecois, we say wine, like wine, yeah, wine. And he looks at me, he grabs his pizza off the counter, and he goes, you're not French, you're Quebecois, and like stormed out of the restaurant. I was like, what? Okay, whatever, all good.
It could be worse. When I go to France, I'm English,
yeah.
So that's a rough time.
Proper English.
And it's a rough time going.
100%. It would be for you. That sucks.
In Paris. Everywhere else I go, it's actually really nice. It's just going to Paris is a rough time if you're English. But... you know, when I've gone with, like, Himi, like, over to anywhere in Europe, they're like, a Kiwi.
Yeah.
But and I'm just like, they think I am, and I just keep quiet the entire time.
Like, I am from New Zealand.
I'm like,
too,
yeah,
also.
I know nothing. I'm not English at all. But yeah. Anyway, we've just got started, and here we are. We're into another story. There's nothing rambling. That didn't make you happy.
It did.
And it didn't make him happy either.
Oh, it did. That experience did not make me happy.
No.
So don't do that to other people.
Don't be from Quebec.
Don't be from Quebec.
Don't be from Quebec. All right, well, I think we're going to start off our learning all about happiness from Google. Happiness, according to, well, actually we have AI overview now on Google. Happiness is a feeling of joy, contentment, well-being that can be a result of a positive experience or experiences. It can also be a state of mind where a person feels their life is meaningful and valuable. What makes people happy? Positive experiences, neurochemicals, social and cultural factors. How is happiness measured? Subjective well-being, 4 qualities of life. A model that describes happiness in terms of inner and outer qualities, life changes, and the livability of the environment. And it carries on and on and on.
I'm sure it was a lengthy description.
Oh yeah, it just goes on and on.
How would you define it, right? Like how would one sentence define what happiness is?
Well, we're gonna do it.
We're doing it.
We're gonna do it.
One sentence to define happiness.
Cheese. It's one word. Make it even
gotcha.
smaller. Well, what isn't happiness is actually how I'm gonna begin this, which is like an awful way of phrasing anything, to be like, what isn't this? But we're not here to market happiness today. We're here to learn all about it. And I think one way to start learning what happiness is to look at what it's not. Because people have the wrong idea of happiness all the time, where they can find it, how we can produce ourselves, how we can keep it hold of it all the time.
Also, the instant gratification that some things bring happiness immediately, right?
Yeah, but that's not
It's not lasting happiness,
Yeah,
no.
and people get those things confused all the time, which
Yeah.
is why, actually, we'll get into this person later, but one small, quick story that he had told about a friend of his, was that his friend had wanted for years to buy, when he was successful, he was like, I'm going to go into Mercedes and buy a car for cash. And that's what I'll do. And that'll make me happy. And he was like a young guy that got really like wealthy very quickly. He went to Mercedes, he bought his car for cash, and that happiness lasted only 45 minutes before he went, oh, I should have saved more money and bought a Ferrari. It's like, it's not lasting.
enough,
Buying something isn't
No,
happiness.
that's the dopamine hit, right?
Exactly. It's just a little thing. So our purposes and things like that are much more meaningful. But I think we'll start with some happiness myth busting.
Myth busting.
So
You've seen it here first on Mythbusters.
Mythbusters.
For legal reasons, that was a joke.
Mythbusters was spelled with a Z. Just for legal
Mythbusters.
Mythbusters and Z. Myth 1, that happiness is a natural state for all human beings. That we'll have like food, water, shelter, a loving relationship, and from that we must be happy.
That's like Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's the hierarchy of you need these things to be able to achieve self-actualization, and then you will be able to achieve happiness.
We're going to put that graph in here as well.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what that's saying, and that's like that is from my memory. I'm not like a research person or like a intellectual, I'd say, but from memory and learning about that in school, that is the basic necessities that people need to be able to think of other things.
Isn't that to get out of survival mode?
That's to get out of survival mode.
I feel like that's still very true, though. I think we're not able. I think that's very true.
I fundamentally.
I don't think you finish I don't think you get to just survival mode accomplishment and then be happy, though.
No.
I think that's when the search for happiness, fulfillment, it begins. Those things we just need to live.
To live.
Yeah.
But because that's when
not to be unhappy.
That's when to be unhappy. So they would say what's the bottom one on that? It was food.
Food, water, shelter.
Food, water, shelter. The whole point of it is about achieving self-actualization. So being able to understand what your purpose is in the world and being able to be the, best version of yourself. I don't think I'm doing the descriptor factors very well on it, but fully fundamentally believe that. I just don't think that is
happiness.
That is definitely if we're going to myth bust that, I'm myth busting that just by human experience.
Because we know that that's not what gives us full fulfillment. Because we have those things and we've still been unhappy.
Yeah.
Which I think is proof in itself.
90%
we know
of
very wealthy people that are living what other people may view as perfect lives that are unhappy.
Yeah. Well, 90% of the modern Western world, and even not Western, but I talk about Western because I know that there's statistics available on
it.
We can reference.
Found the graph. There we go. I'll pull up the whole thing because it's just nicer. The pyramid. Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
I think that 90% of the Western world, and I say Western because that's what we have the stats on, that we all have that. Most of us have that. They have, shelter, and a lot of people don't have shelter, but those are basic human needs.
In first world civilization, in Western cultures, we most of the time have access to our basic needs.
And we're still struggling with depression, anxiety, etc.
Well, I don't think we're myth busting the Maslow's pyramid at all, but I think we are.
No.
But the fact that just having the basic needs equals happiness, which is not the case.
Not.
Yeah, that's it. So it's the physiological needs at the bottom: food, water, warmth, rest. That's right at the bottom. The next one is safety needs, security, safety. Then belongingness and love needs, intimate relationships and friends. Then esteem needs, prestige, feeling of accomplishment. And then self-actualization, achieving one's full potential, including creative activities.
I think that is probably
That's true. That's more accurate.
That's more accurate.
I also love all of the memes of this graph, and I think we should insert some of our favorite ones.
I don't know any of them, but we will insert.
Me, it's just cheese.
Yeah.
All needs.
It's just cheese. All needs.
A pretty
are met.
woman feeding me oysters. That's my full needs.
I have been self-actualized. She fed me oysters.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah,
I think I got the Southern McConaughey draw on that. She's fed me oysters. Oysters.
So that was the first myth to be busted. The next one so I was going to end that by saying, actually, no, it feeds into the next myth anyway, that happiness means feeling good. Like, that's it. That's all it means. It's like, that's not. If you live a happy life, it doesn't mean you're feeling good all the time. No. And that's not achievable or possible.
Not necessarily. No, it's that kind of relates back to, I think we spoke about this the very first episode of the way that I view happiness. It's kind of like a wave, right? You might be happy, you might be a happy person, but you'll experience moments of depression and negativity and sadness, and that's all. That's a
full human experience.
They're natural human emotions, right? So I don't think it's realistic to say that you'll be happy all the time forever, but you could live a happy life with being sad.
Of course,
yeah.
Well, I mean, you also can live a sad life while also having moments of happiness. You know, it's just a human experience. Yeah. That was the next thing in here is like the happiness, like the noun is like state of pleasure and contentment, which I think that's a happy feeling. That's not happiness. And
like I would feeling good.
Yeah, that's a different thing to me. Like, there's no such thing as lasting happiness, because how long does a good feeling last? Like in the space of like one day, you'll have many emotions, and that's a proper lived experience.
But that feeling, like describe feeling good, that could be also attributed to feeling happiness. Yeah. Feeling happiness in that moment. You're feeling good. I feel happy.
Yeah. But we're talking about happiness as a happy life or happy as a feeling. There are different ways to look at it, different of the same subject.
100%.
Because like to me, happiness is like rich, full, meaningful life, where the full range of human emotions is experienced. Like when you look at children are a meaningful thing to have in your life, and so is a great career, but that doesn't mean it doesn't come with trials and tribulations and difficulties. Like having children is no like walk in the park, and same with having like a really good career that you're really proud of. You're going to have sleepless nights for both of those things, and anything meaningful. Family, like of any kind, like a meaningful relationship with a partner is still going to have its up and downs, back and forth.
That's arguably the fact, right? That like say feeling good at all times. It's kind of if you feel good at all times, how do you know that you feel good, right? We enjoy happiness and happy moments so much because we know what negativity and we know what depression, we know what sadness feels like. You know the range. That something could be so heart-wrenching and devastating and broken, like the loss of a loved one, for example. If you're just feeling good constantly, you'll never know what that felt like to love so deeply that you miss something. So
and they're all one and the same as well, though. Yeah. When you think about grief is just love.
It's love.
That's all it is. It's just love that you couldn't express in this lifetime, so it comes out then. I just didn't have any more time.
I have a lot of grief. Love that I couldn't express in this lifetime.
Trying to still.
I'm still trying to. Trying to connect.
Accidentally.
It was an accident.
Well, if you're talking about like pleasure, pain, and all that, so I can get you back into that like cycle of the pain pleasure cycle, like that Eckhart Tolle talks about as well, and also talks about life situations, and like just because you're in your life situation might be difficult now, it doesn't mean that you have like a bad life. Yeah. That's another way to find happiness, is to live now. Like I really like that.
Be in the now.
Be in the moment. Like yes, things have been happening in your life, but in this moment, am I okay? Yeah, I'm in this chair and the room is nice and I'm talking with my friend, and like, you know, but you can still have things going on.
Yeah, I used to actually, I had on that point, and a beautiful point, and that's Eckhart Tolle. Amazing philosophies that he's got, but that one I've heard of many, many times, because I used to do when I was younger, maybe like 23, well, I'm younger, 19, I'm 23 now. When I was younger and a little bit more naive, I'd be like, I'm a very dramatic person, right? So I'm always to the extreme of like, this is the end, fuck this, I can't do this anymore.
Well, remember in like our teenage years, like what everything would be like, the end of the world.
And it did. It felt like
that. Yeah, it did. It felt true. Again, it was true in the moment for us.
On one And I'm still grateful that humans are able to express the ability to feel so deeply that we feel that. Like, I am. As negative as it is, because it sucks when you feel like that.
It was so negative at the time, though, as well. Like, when you look at it, it's like,
look back
that's
at
why
it.
I love that turning poison into medicine. It's a huge portion of what I try to look at with life. Even Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights book, that's
100%, it's such a good book.
Every single thing that's like, it might be going wrong or not be a great thing, but there was a lesson learned from it, something that became
and we
a
grow
green light.
from it.
Yeah.
There's no bad decisions, only the decisions we make.
Yes, and that's why we make poor decisions.
That's why.
So we can learn.
We're just trying to be the most actualizations versions of ourselves. That was all.
That had some drawl.
That was pure English. I was getting into my Green Lights moment. I was
pure drawl.
Actualizations.
I started reading that book while I was away,
So
but
good.
I had this was on the girls' weekend, so I was just not. I was very fussy, very happy.
Your friend Molly came, eh?
Everyone came to play. And then I was
Your
going
friend Shroomy.
Everyone came to play. And I was like in bed and I was like, I'll put on my audiobook so I'm going to sleep. The second he started talking, I was like,
yeah. He's got the most it's the most intoxicating
soothing,
voice.
Sexy voice ever. And I just went immediately to sleep.
Yeah, he does that. He has that effect on women.
Yeah. Well, more than just going to sleep.
Yeah,
but on this occasion,
he has a lot of effects on
he
women.
sent me just to sleep. Very disappointed to find it wasn't a smart novel immediately.
But what was I saying? What was my point of that? Is
we went Eckhart Tolle.
Eckhart Tolle. So I had we'll trim that out, but
we won't.
We won't. Maybe we might not. We had when I was like very flair for dramatic, I had this person in my life at the time that always would remind me, like when I was like having like a knip shit, just being like everything sucks. He'd tell me, he'd be like, where are you right now? I'm like, I'm at home. Must be nice to have a house. Like, not in a negative, sarcastic way.
No, but that's really nice to genuinely ground you.
Grounding me.
Yeah.
Must be nice. Are you warm? I'm like, yeah, I'm warm. Must be nice to feel so warm and cozy. Like, have you eaten? Yeah, I've eaten. Must be nice to have a full belly. Like, just trying to bring me back to exactly that.
That's so nice.
He was a big reader of Eckhart Tolle's work. So he'd always bring me back to that moment that you're okay right now. Right now, yeah, your work might be chaotic and you might be stressed out, but right now you're fine. So stop worrying about it.
Yeah, stop making it worse.
Yeah.
That's why
stop torturing yourself in the moment. What's that expression? Sorry, I know I interrupted you.
Well, I was going to say, what's this expression from
It's
from
it's your expression.
It's the one that I love so much. It's like if you worry, you only suffer twice.
Yeah.
And that's one I love so much. It's just, why are you punishing yourself with your brain?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I told you that my therapist has said. She was like, stop dwelling. And I was like, oh, and she's like, doesn't do anything for you. She was like, stop it, it's a bad habit.
Yeah.
And I remember the time being like, that's so harsh. And then I went away and thought about it and I was like, she's right though.
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm doing that. Why am I just sitting or going places and just having this replay in my head of things of like, where it could have been different, or why did this happen to me? And what was it doing for me?
Nothing.
Absolutely fucking nothing. Other than wasting my time and taking me away from feeling gratitude for the things that I did have in my life.
Yeah.
Realizing that I'm in a warm house and I'm fed and I'm fine. You know, these are really nice things to have like repeated to you throughout.
100%. And it's nice to have those people in your life that are like clued on enough to recognize that and go, you're fine. Like, I know I'm not going to feed into this problem right now. You're fine. But the expression that I was thinking of, which I thought was probably going to be the same one as you, but it wasn't. It's similar though. It's worrying is worshiping the problem. I love that one because you're making up scenarios in your head and you're like, think of like praying. It's all internalized. And you're doing that to the problem. You're thinking of something into existence, basically.
Yeah. You're putting more energy into it.
Yeah.
You're feeding it.
I
love that. All right, next segment we're going to go into was, what do the experts say? Final myth. Myth number 3. If you're not happy, then something is wrong with you.
If you are not happy, something is wrong with you.
Yeah, you're defective.
Okay.
When that is not true. You are normal if you're not happy. That is a normal way to be. We all have multiple emotions. We're not happy all the time. Think of the film Inside Out when joy tried to take over everything.
That's such a good reference.
Doesn't work. So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's normal. And I think we're at a point in our timeline right now as like humans where we're, I don't know if this is a hot take, over medicating and pathologize. My God.
Okay.
You know what I mean? My God. Pathologize everything? Oh my God, I'm trying to say the word.
Pathologically?
No, pathologically is different. We pathologize. Oh my God. Pathologize?
Okay. Hot take from Robyn.
We are in a time. Oh my God. This is like, it's like the cough is like wrapped around my tongue.
I
It's
know.
gone, you're never saying this word now. There are too many L's and too many THs. And
It's-
too many O's and G's. Hot take from Robyn. Ish, maybe, I don't know. We're in a weird state of time as humans where we are over medicating and pathologizing every little thing about ourselves. So we're going, what's wrong with me? I don't feel happy at the moment. There must be something wrong. I should see a doctor, and then you're going to fix it. And then you take the pills and you go, nothing's changed. Why am I still unhappy? Everyone else is happy but me. And that's where people get themselves into this weird cycle again of feeding the problem instead of taking that step back and going, okay, what can I do that is daily corrective work? It's like when people get so like off but kind of the same to me. It's like when people go and get like a full facelift at like age 40 when they've done no skincare their entire life. So a little hot take from me right now is that I do think that in the timeline where we are as humans, that ourselves and places like TikTok, Instagram, even our friends, like people around us, we're all self-diagnosing and then going and getting medicated for every little thing, like, and pathologizing like every little thing about ourselves as well. So we end up going like, I'm not happy, something's wrong with me, I need to get fixed. And our version of being fixed, at least in, again, Western culture especially, is getting pills.
Yeah.
Like getting
would-
drugs for it. Like, you know, either it's escapism or it's fix-it pills, you know? Like that's the way you deal with unhappiness and like how to be happy.
I would support that hot take. I would. Like I'm actually fully on your page for that. I fully agree. I'm trained. I had to do courses for the job that I'm in now. It's a good life skill to have, and I got trained in it, and I'm certified and qualified. I'm a mental health first aid officer. So I'm qualified in diagnosing, not clinically, but being able to recognize, looking for the signs and being able to talk people and recognize it and escalate it to appropriate like medical professionals if I think someone's
By
like,
escalate it, you mean like refer to
yeah,
refer to.
no, not me,
Not escalate,
no, not
yeah.
me. It's not like I think anybody can become qualified in it or certified in it. It's a good course. It's a really, really good course.
That's something that I would really recommend for people in like my job, like as a PT.
100%.
Because in my job, obviously, there's been times where I've had to talk with, you know, I mean, just like you're with someone one-to-one all the time, and you see people very vulnerable, in a very vulnerable place sometimes, and that can mean that emotions come up when you're like talking about the body, you know, and in their body the entire time.
100%. So because I've done that, and that's what I do at work. Like I don't do that as a job, but I do that as like a byproduct of my job because I deal with people. It's a good skill to have that people can come to talk to me if they feel like they need to talk to someone and whatnot. But because of that, I do support that hot take because I've studied to a degree. I'm like absolutely not saying I'm a psychologist or anything, like a doctor able to diagnose anything. I'm not proclaiming that at all. I don't really know much more about mental health. My information's limited. Disclaimer. But seeing the signs of someone who's clinically depressed and like on the verge of suicide is very, very, very different than talking to someone who's like experiencing depression. Because I think all of us on a day-to-day basis can be depressed. 100%. I go through it. I'm a very happy person, like naturally happy-go-lucky. But I've been depressed. I've had moments in my life where it's really difficult to get out of bed. But that is not the same as being clinically depressed.
Oh yeah, because that's a condition, and you can't just snap out of that.
It's clinical.
Yeah, and that's why we need to have trained professionals to come in and go, what's what, and have holistic doctors. Like I was very fortunate that I had a doctor after I had after I had Noah, who's now like my son, who's nearly 5. But when I had him, I was not good. Like I went through a time where I was really not good, and I was in the doctor's office, and I was having such anxious thoughts, and I didn't look right anyway when I was in there.
Was this like postpartum?
Yeah, it's just postpartum, but it actually ended up being that I was, and we'll get onto it in another episode anyway, because we're going to talk about like, I guess our own histories and with trauma and things like that. But I have PTSD, and
That'll be an episode.
yeah, that'll be an episode.
It'll be a comedy. We're a comedy podcast. It'll be a comedy episode
Somehow,
but
we'll make it funny.
We laugh at our trauma. Us driving in the car the other day. I suffer from bulimia.
I don't love you. That was like one of those such a great joke though. But yeah, no, when I was there, it turned out to be re-triggered PTSD. So I have PTSD and dissociative disorder, but they don't cause me much trouble in my day-to-day life anymore, thanks to therapy, thanks to EMDR therapy in particular, which we will talk about, but I 100% advocate for. But my doctor obviously immediately wanted to refer me. He was like, "Are you doing okay?" As I was there, like, holding the door, and I was like, "Is it normal to think about death all the time?" And he was like, "Not really."
No.
But he was great. He didn't just, like, give me pills. He did prescribe them anyway, but he was like, "Don't take these until you talk to your original therapist."
Yeah.
So I told him I still had her contact. He was like, "Call her, go do some sessions first, and then decide if you want to do this, because once you're on it, you have to, like, it's a big deal.
It's a process.
You have to wean it off again.
This is antidepressants.
Yeah, these were NSAIDs. I'm not sure which ones they were.
God.
I never ended up taking them because I listened to his advice, and I know that my own inkling was, I just feel like they weren't for me. I felt like I might freak myself out with them. I think everyone's got their own relationship to like
100%.
medications, therapy, and how
and medication and what medication you want to take and put in your body. 100%.
Yeah, and I was really worried that, adding more. If I can do it without it, then I'd rather.
100%.
But there are times when there are no other options,
Yeah.
and that's when you listen to your doctor. If my doctor said to me, "You have to take these," and I trust it, I trust my doctor, I would have absolutely done that. But there are people out there, unfortunately, in many places where doctors are being paid for prescribing drugs, and that's a big problem.
Perfect story on this.
Oh, God.
I've got a perfect story on this, and it's my own experience. I'm not sharing anybody else's medical history. If you haven't been able to tell, I've suffered several head injuries in my life. The last concussion that I had, which was my 3rd concussion, I was debilitated. I was out for 5 weeks, blah, blah, blah. It was really, really bad. This is before I hired a personal trainer, because I was like, fuck, I've been bedridden for 5 weeks. Yeah. I need to get back into it. But I went into the doctor. It was the 3rd concussion that I had was the worst one I've ever experienced. Like, I couldn't string a sentence together. My emotions were up and down. Like, I went into the doctor one day, because, like, for the concussion, obviously, and I had to do concussion therapy and blah, blah, blah. But I went into the doctor, and my doctor, who I love with a passion, was not there, but I needed to go to the doctor. So I went to, like, they have, like, the floating round doctor. So I went to the one that just sees random people.
See, my version in my brain literally had a doctor, like, floating in. Just being like, does anyone need any meds?
That's perfect.
Shake some pills.
Perfect description. So I went to her. And I went into her office, because, you get into that the little room and whatever, you talk to them. And I was like, I said, I'm really scared, because I was terrified when I had this concussion that I wasn't ever going to recover properly. Because if you've ever had a concussion, like, you can relate, you're not yourself. You're absolutely not yourself. And I wasn't myself. And I was really scared that I wasn't going to ever be able to snap back. And
I think anyone with any sort of, like, when you have any sort of damage like that to your head,
and
also like mental health ones, like when you get into like loops, like it is a terrifying place to be.
It was really, really bad. And I went in and I cried, and I was like, I'm really scared that I'm not going to recover from this. Like, I was talking to the doctor, and I was like, I'm really, really scared I'm not going to recover from this. What did she do?
Just gave you drugs.
Prozac.
Oh my God.
She prescribed me antidepressants, like strong antidepressants. I'm pretty sure it was Prozac. Very strong antidepressants. And I was like, I took them. I took the bottle. I got the prescription filled. And I couldn't bring myself to take them, because I knew, like, I'm not a depressed person.
Yeah, that's not what the problem is. The problem is
it's my head. I have a head injury.
Yeah.
And you're giving me antidepressants for my head injury. I just thought that was wild.
That is wild.
They gave me seizure medication.
Yeah.
Which is fair. It reduces the brain. It reduces the electrical activity in your brain to stop seizures.
Yeah.
But which is when in a concussion, I'm not a doctor.
The risk could be heightened.
It's not a risk of having a seizure. It's the abnormality of activity because you're like low and then it might peak and
so
then
it's about
it's
keeping
to
it in
regulate
a bracket.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But then so she gave me that and antidepressants, and then when I got the antidepressants, I was like, I'm just gonna raw dog this because I don't trust. Like, I don't want to take antidepressants because I know I'm not depressed. Like, I don't need to take it. I was really low. I'm lying in bed like this for 5 weeks. Of course, I'm
you're
depressed.
gonna feel low anyway.
Of course,
your endorphins are low because you're not moving. Like, there's so many attributing factors as to why you're not feeling great, but it's not what that was. And again, but that's a personal choice as well.
100%.
And I think doctors should advocate for you to have more say. I mean, you have that with so many things in medical. This is so off topic. But even with when yours is more on topic, but even when I was like pregnant with Roa, like I had a doctor like tell me like, oh, we're going to be inducing you on this date, and I was like, no, you're not going to be inducing me. He's fine. And they kept trying to push these inductions and just tell me I was having inductions on these days, and I was like, I'm not having an induction on the day. I'm fine, and I was fine.
Yeah,
you know when something's wrong and advocate for yourself when you know something's wrong. You knew that you'd had a concussion. That was the problem there.
But she knew I had a concussion too.
Yeah.
Like, she was my doctor. She wasn't my doctor, but she was the doctor. And I was like, I just expected, I don't know. I think why I was blown away by it was like the sheer, look, give grace where grace is due. You can't treat a concussion. There's no way of fixing it. It's just time. There's no way of doing it. I had to wear these like pedophile glasses like from the Lovely Bones, like literally not even kidding. I couldn't work for 5 weeks.
Like the ones that when you're watching Forensic Files and they're like, and this was the neighbor, and you're like, it was him.
It was obviously him. It was obviously him. Yeah.
What store did they go to?
I had to wear those for 5 weeks.
Kitty Fiddlers R Us.
To look at a screen. Which I wasn't really allowed to do. It was limited anyways. But what I was blown away by was like the sheer, I don't want to say laziness, but like the willingness to give me antidepressants when
I just think there should be more paperwork involved.
I have no history of mental health issues or depression or anything. Case in point, my actual doctor, the doctor I love, I have like sleep problems. Like I don't sleep very well. I have really bad nightmares. I told her, I went in one day, I was like, I have really bad nightmares. And she's like, oh, okay, well, we'll give you some of these. Zopiclone. Zopiclone is for those who don't know, it's a very strong sedative. It's a sleeping pill. I only take half. She gave me, genuinely, I'm not going to say her name because this would probably lose her license. She gave me probably 50 pills of Zopiclone. In New Zealand, there's a law that you get like 5 at a time or 4 at a time.
Oh my gosh, that's so annoying if you need them all the time.
But it's because I could have gone home with the Zopiclone and killed myself.
Yeah.
Like I could have taken that and just never woken up. So they prevent it so that you don't have access to be able to do that. But because I have no history of mental health or mental illness or anything, she trusted me and she's like, well, I'll just give you these. You don't have to come back every week. So I was like, sweet.
This girl loves life. Don't worry about it.
She loves life. She just wants to sleep and not have demons.
Just wants to sleep well.
Yeah, literally. Medicine. That's my hot take on medicine. I don't even take
we'll have a whole episode, I think, where we'll talk about more medicine. But we'll also talk about it in a holistic sense. But I think that's my main thing is like, it should be looked at holistically.
100%. I agree with you.
And back to like the myth there's like that you're not, if you're not happy, then you're not normal. That's just not true.
No.
We all go through ups and downs, even if you don't have any big mental health clinical mental health problems going on at the time. Doesn't mean you can't have ups and downs.
But I also know people who are like I've got very good friends who are clinically depressed that they take medication every single day so that they can be happy. I have family, but they also and I wouldn't attribute it to the pills. I think the pills just like help them mellow out and like not be so depressed. But they live very, very happy lives. So I don't think that absolutely don't agree with that fact that if you're like something's wrong with me if I'm not happy. A lot of people aren't happy.
Yeah.
And it's a human experience.
Yeah, that's completely normal. I was going to say another thing about medications, just one last little point there. I knew someone whose dad was clinically depressed, and for years they were just medicating him for his clinical depression. It turned out that he ended up having heart problems.
Wow.
And heart problem, he ended up having to have a 4-valve change, like, operation. So all 4 valves on his heart had to be changed. And after the operation, no clinical depression. That was what was causing it. His body was telling him something is severely wrong here. So it's always key to look at your whole self holistically instead of just like looking at the symptom and just like putting something on that. Why is it there?
Why?
What's going on here? What are the circumstances?
Let's look at all of it.
Is there something causing this? Because again, with women, it can be hormone things.
Also, diet and exercise, all of that.
Gut. Again, we have to go. Well, that's going to be another thing. Gut health. Huge relation to the brain.
On that note, I'm just going to add one final point on medication.
Good, because we're only on part 2.
One of my friends who is she's one of the people that I know that is clinically depressed and takes depression medication. Is really, it's not funny, and I think we'll do a whole episode on medicine, in the Western world. But so she takes depression medication every single day. She was taking not antidepressants, birth control as well. When she started trying to have a baby because she wanted to get pregnant, her and her husband.
I know exactly where this is going.
She stopped taking her birth control, obviously, because she's trying to have a baby. Since stopping taking birth control, she was able to cut her depression medication in half. Yeah. Because that was making her so depressed.
Well, I've had a few issues with like birth controls over the years. Again, I've talked about having endo before in past podcast episodes. Endometriosis, for those who don't know what that is. And I've had so many issues, because they would cause mental health issues for me. Yeah. The main one for me was when I had the implant in my arm. That one caused me to have severe anxiety. Wow. For the entire time I had it, and I had to have it removed. And it was like, whether or not it was like placebo or not, the second it was removed, I wasn't having this issue anymore. Like, I went from being my normal self to looking at the floor everywhere I walked. It was like, I don't know what part of it was like anxiety being given or like my, I guess, autistic. Because I obviously I'm on the spectrum, but having that sort of stuff more unmasked.
Sorry, I like that you say, obviously I'm on the spectrum. Like, obviously.
Obviously. If you've watched me enough, know me enough.
It's obvious.
But I think part of it could have been more of an unmasking as well. I don't know what it did to me, but it wasn't good. And I wasn't able to be my usual self in social settings.
You're a very confident and
social settings,
yeah.
And I went to being like a recluse. I really wasn't happy in a way that's just not normal. Like, different to me being sad. Right, moving on. Next part. Part 3. The experts.
Kava first.
Oh yeah, Kava first. Also, did you like my doodle of us?
Yeah, I did. I thought that was very funny.
I thought it was great.
We can insert that in the clip.
We will. We'll put it at the end so you can see where it is. So, looking at ways to become happy is the next segment here. Let you finish your slurp. So, the experts, we'll start with Google. Google said that smiling more makes you happy. So
I must be the most miserable person on planet Earth because I have RBF. It's chronic. It's genetic.
Her tits are iconic.
But my tits are I can't say that. You can say that. It's very uppity of me to say that.
Well.
They're iconic.
They are iconic. So, I had a look into this study, and what's funny is I remembered this study from years ago, but I couldn't find the original video that I had watched on this study, and the study that I watched was where they got a group of people to put pens in their mouth, one this way or one this way, like, so one pursing their lips into like a O shape, and one like across their mouth like a guard, forcing them to a smile. And they did, I'm pretty sure this was on Big Ben. The big Ferris wheel in England that goes around. Yeah, in London. So that's called, no, not Big Ben. Big Ben's the clock. Sorry, the London Eye. Yeah. The London Eye.
I was like, the Ferris wheel.
Yeah, no, I was wrong.
Say it again.
But they were on the Ferris wheel. So on the London Eye, they had 2 groups of people that they watched, separately. The first group had them in across this way, and the second group had them in the other way. And they made both groups watch the same stand-up comedy episode. And they found that the ones with their mouths forced into a smile laughed more often. Not a very big study. They did a big study that then, sparked this funny little segment on a TV show. Mm-hmm. Now, I couldn't find that segment. So instead I found another BBC report of a very adorable man going to Edinburgh and doing the same thing to people. So I thought we'd watch it together. But not doing a comedy podcast, but just forcing them to put pencils in their mouth. But I thought we'd watch it.
Should we put pencils in our
Yeah,
mouths?
I brought pencils. Well, actually, I didn't bring pencils. I brought lip liners and eyeliners to put
Should
in
we
my
put
mouth.
them in our
Yeah,
mouth
while we're watching
it? Oh, I love that we
Yeah.
have one brain.
This is Edinburgh. According to a recent demographic study, it is home to the most miserable people in Britain.
This is a good city to come to on a pretty miserable day to test out an intriguing idea. Can I give the people of Edinburgh a little
laughing?
bit of pleasure? No drugs, nothing illicit, simply by using a pencil. So how are you feeling today on a score of 1 to 10?
Oh, a bit 5.
Would you like me to add little pleasure to your day?
Go for it.
Put this between your teeth like this. Okay? Nice teeth. Okay. Is it doing anything for you?
Not really, no. Makes you feel a bit like a horse.
Make you smile.
Very good.
Don't make us feel happier, right?
It is, exactly. What happens is, when you put the pencil in your mouth like this, it makes you smile, and you're exercising the same muscles as when you smile. And what's strange is that a fake smile like this one can induce a hit of real pleasure. Is it beginning to kick in?
Yeah? I think it's quite good about it, yeah.
Does it make you feel good?
Yeah, it does actually. I'm smiling.
You're convinced.
I'm a bit worried about how many people's mouths.
I can promise these are sterilised, carefully cleaned pencils.
Oh, right, okay.
What do you reckon?
Yeah, I feel great.
I'm like drooling.
Take mouth for the rest of it, but carry on.
That works though. Like I'm already laughing.
But it also doesn't help that we're sat here together doing it.
Yeah.
5 to a...
Oh, I dropped the 9.
So what's going on? Well, it could simply be that your brain has learnt to associate smiling with pleasure. But there's another rather intriguing theory. When I smile, I exercise the major zygomatic muscles. They tighten up, and that alters the blood flow to my brain. And it could be it is that which is triggering the feeling of pleasure. How are you feeling now then?
You have amused me. Well done.
Okay. You smile even when you're not feeling particularly happy.
I try to.
Okay.
I can.
And does that sort of elevate your mood?
I think so, yeah. I think it makes you feel a lot better.
So just by exercising these muscles, you can trick your brain into feeling pleasure. And to be honest, you don't even need one of these.
I really like that.
I think he's so cute.
I really like that.
I also can't deal with how cute he is when he said, because he has like a slight speech impediment when he says zygomatic muscles. I was just like, I love him. He's so cute.
Do we need to address anything?
What's his
back?
name?
No, it's fine.
We can, we probably want to move that one back. But yeah, Michael Mosley from the BBC, what an absolute cutie. Was he not the cutest? I just think he was so sweet. I also love the idea of like, that he could go to people in the street. If I went to people in the street and I was like, do you want to know how happy I can make you with just this pencil? They'd be like...
It's also a very different setting, given that you're like a very attractive woman and he's like a middle-aged man.
Michael Mosley's adorable.
I don't mean that he's not adorable. But you know what I mean?
It's a different
like,
thing.
You'd be like, do you know how happy I can make you
with just this pencil?
And they'd be like, get the fuck away from me, you prostitute. Like,
I don't have any money.
They'd run. And they'd be like, my girlfriend is here.
Also, fun fact that they were saying, well, not a fun fact for Edinburgh, but apparently Edinburgh's the most miserable city in the UK. This is like on...
That's because no one can pronounce the name of it. That's why. You have a difficult pronouncing name. And
it's such an easy word. It just reads weird.
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
It's not Edinburgh. It's Edinburgh.
But it's just Edinburgh to anyone who's from
I know.
Edinburgh. Yeah.
But, like,
but
if you spell
Edinburgh or whatever, yeah. And it's like people who have the name like Saoirse. And it's...
shoes. Like,
yeah, it's Saoirse or whatever it's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like, I love...
Oh, Robyn.
Robyn. No, Irish names are the weirdest, but redeeming factor, the Irish people have the sexiest accent.
We know that Edinburgh's in Scotland before we continue, by the way. She might not. Okay, well, I thought we both did.
I didn't know that.
No!
That's embarrassing.
Not all of Ireland's in the UK either.
We studied geography where I'm from in...
Quebec.
I don't know where I'm from. I don't know a map.
If I give you point to it on here.
I wouldn't know. I've never seen one.
At least you guys have an easy flag, so you can always spot it.
It's the one with the leaf on it.
It's the best. It's one of the best.
The only one that I can ever recognize.
It's one of the best.
I'm actually really good at maps. Not maps.
Not maps,
flags.
but good at maps.
I'm not good at any of
You're good
those
at flags.
things. I'm good at flags. Show me a flag, I can tell you what country it's from.
Flag hag.
Flag hag.
Okay, we'll make that a game actually on one episode. All right, back to what we were talking about. So the science. So it was fun looking at like the muscles and the impact there. So then I went down a rabbit hole from this point because I was thinking, well, if muscle movement and just the moving up of the zygomatic muscles can cause you to have the trigger response to your brain that you're happy, I was then thinking, well, what does Botox do? So this sent me into, I know, I thought of this, so then I went down a little rabbit hole. And then I found another study that turns out that, so going back to my beginning point of, you know, happiness and unhappiness are not like the opposites of each other, and we'll get into that in a minute more. Actually, we'll get into it very closely. So getting Botox, obviously, in like the lower mid is not very common anyway. So mainly people get it in their forehead, right? They did a study that apparently because you're frowning less, you feel higher levels, like lesser levels of unhappiness.
So this is
because you're less frowny.
This is fantastic. I loved that video. I thought it was very cute, very endearing. It made me smile when I put the thing in my mouth. Like, it was great. I really, really liked that. And I do think that there's some science to actually just smiling.
But also it's pleasure, happiness, not long-lasting happiness.
No,
which we'll get into.
Yeah, 100%. But if you can find a study that backs Botox, I will make an appointment tomorrow. Because I'm not kidding. I run a lot, right? Yeah. And so because of the sun, I've got very sensitive eyes. I go like this all the time.
I remember when you came back from your marathon.
And I was tanned.
Yeah,
I get like tan lines here. So if you can find
never like get those ones. For me, it's again, I'm really short, so I think because I'm looking up all the time, I only get these ones. So I'm always getting like the lines there in the summertime because I'm constantly squinting and looking.
Well, I've got those too. Like I've got just wrinkles. I'm old. I'm 23 years old.
She's not old.
I'm 23.
And you're also not 23.
I am 23.
Okay, that's the lie we're going through.
23.
Just call us 23 and me.
Yeah. But if you can find a study that can back that Botox has any significance in making you happier.
No, it has significance in making you frown less obviously, and therefore causing you to have less feelings of unhappiness and frustration. So that's what I'm going into next, where it's not the same. Because, okay, the next part we'll go into, and I'll find
I'm jumping the gun. I just want to get Botox, and I want someone to justify and validate me.
You can do whatever you want.
I know, I'm like an adult. So like, I'm like,
You're an adult.
I am an adult. I can do this.
You can do whatever you want. Also, my notes to self in here. Like, I have to take a picture of this. But I also wrote here, make yourself happier using only a pencil or pen. I wrote underneath, Franz Kafka would not agree.
Franz Kafka.
You know, the writer. He writes like the most like depressing stuff, incredible stuff, but sometimes it's just, I'll send you some stuff. Yeah. I often use his quotes because I love them, but they're like, it's just like peak depressing.
Yeah. Well, see, it's actually really funny because, you know how like women in general just get told to like, oh, sweetie, you should smile more.
Yeah, I know. That's also when I Googled like how can I be happier, and it said smile more. I was like, well, fuck you, Google. Yeah. I was like,
man.
Like the thing the other week when, hey, you're looking good there, girl. It's just cut to me with my fangs every time.
It's great.
They made me smile more because I couldn't close my mouth. I was actually
all day
for hours until I needed to eat popcorn. All right, so going into the happiness, unhappiness, opposites thing. So the way that this was put to me is when I looked into the next segment, which is sleeping more. And shouldn't that make you happier? And it was like, no. It does but it makes you less unhappy because, you know, you're rested. And that's because they're not like the same and opposites of one another. They're actually functioning in different parts of the brain, happiness and unhappiness. And we know that because we know that it functions in the right side of the brain, because when we're showing more negative emotions, they show more clearly on the left side of our faces. Isn't that fantastically interesting?
That is why. Look at this.
Well, what's funny is you make me sit with my left foot, and I thought about this afterwards.
Look at this. Okay. Straight on. Right side. Left side. I think I'm just a miserable person.
I think I just prefer my more miserable side, because I thought about this later. I was like, it's funny how we both prefer different sides for ourselves.
I think I just.
And I'm like, no, you get the cold side of me.
Yeah, but I don't think you're like you're not a down person. I can definitely. I think it's because I'm like such a.
When I look grumpy, though I look so
You're
grumpy
so
because
grumpy.
it's so
You're
not
so noticeable.
Yeah, the day that Liv
So
came
out
back
of
from
character.
Canada, it was like, yeah, it was so out of Canada, so out of character. Liv came to my house the second she pretty much landed back from Canada to New Zealand.
Because we're in love.
Because we're in love. And she got to the door right as I was in the most fucked off mood because I had New Zealand police saying they were about to destroy my property.
I just looked at her and I was
that
like,
was
"Are you
stolen
alright?"
from me. I was robbed, and then because I hadn't emailed them back, which I had, and she hadn't seen it, they said they were going to just destroy my things, which included my passport from England.
But I looked at you. You opened the door and I was like, you gave me like a one-arm hug, and after
And I was
hadn't
in
seen
the
you-
middle of a phone
I
call.
haven't seen you in a month. You gave me a one-arm hug. I was like, well, fuck you too.
She
Like,
just gets back on a plane.
I get back. I'm like, oh fuck this bitch. Like, whatever.
You take the pen out your mouth and you're like, no, I'm happy now.
Give me my bags and I will leave. Give me my bags of goods.
my goods.
My goods.
My-
I had to get them.
My knees.
It was been a long month.
But isn't that just super interesting? I thought that was super interesting. So that's why I
It
like
was.
sleep and smiling more and all these other things. Like, well, the smiling more one is super interesting. And I like that.
I
So
do
I think the practice
sleeping. Well, sleep
causes less unhappiness.
I do think to a degree, because I think, like, have you ever woken up from a sleep that you know you've overslept and you just
Yeah.
feel horrible?
Yeah, you feel like shit.
So I feel like and it obviously varies from person to person, right? Because some people can be 8 hours a day sleep, some people can be 5, but, like, I think I'm in between that. But if I oversleep, say, like, because I'm not a weekend sleeper, like, I won't sleep
Yeah.
until 10 or something. If I did, I can guarantee you that day is a write-off for me. I'm miserable. I'm not doing anything. Like, it's just horrible. So I have
get
to wake
headaches.
myself up when I wake myself up, because I think too much sleep is unproductive for happiness.
Well, they say, like, I think my mom's reading a book at the moment, which is all about sleep. Well, she's just finished it. And 8 hours is literally, like, about perfect. But it doesn't matter what time that is.
Yeah.
Some people are night owls and some people are morning people.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm a night owl, obviously. And that makes my life difficult because it doesn't fit with, like, the lifestyle of modern living. But the next part's all really, really good because now we're going into what is happiness and how can we actually make our lives happier.
Okay.
Next
segment.
We're going to be talking about a wonderful man called Arthur Brooks, who is a Harvard professor who talks about happiness and how to get long-lasting happiness
Okay.
and maintain it in your life. He talks about the differences between like pleasure and then lasting enjoyment and how that's more derived from things that are solid in your life.
Rather than, like, as opposed to, like, quick dopamine hits.
Yeah, so he's the person who earlier I had mentioned that his friend had bought the Mercedes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so those sorts of like quick
Yeah.
happiness, like, you know, you get a new car and you smell new car smell and you're happy about it, and then later like that goes away and then you're not into it anymore and it's that new thing has passed.
Get the analogy, but new car smell is, like, the most foul smell in the world.
Wouldn't
It smells
know.
like mushrooms. It smells like absolute mushrooms. It's gross.
Really?
Yeah, I hate it. That's
So
why I buy
I'm
used
actually
cars.
it smells like leather and
That's why I
clean.
buy cheap used.
Yeah, that's why.
That's why.
Lives all about long lasting happiness
Yeah,
with old
me.
manky smelling cars.
Yeah.
To be fair, you don't deserve a new car yet because of
I crash it too much.
Yeah, I forgot about that part. I was thinking about how it looks on the inside.
Oh, it's bad. It's gotten even worse.
I love when she brings someone new into the car and she's like, "Oh, mind out for that," as though it's like something that's just like that day. And I'm like, "Yeah, wow, it looks so
you know,
awful in here. It's
I
never
think,
like this."
I think I did a count of it the other day. I have like, not 40. I have like 26 water bottles. Because it's really bad. I buy a water bottle every time I'm at the gym and then I leave it in the car. I've got like a mountain of them now. It's really, really bad. I need to clean it out. I'll do that this weekend.
I'm gonna have a hit
I'm
out on you from
shamed.
Greenpeace.
Yeah, probably. But I'm wearing a green blazer, so.
Think about the dolphins.
Yeah. I love the dolphins. I recycle.
Eventually.
Yeah, when they get out of my car.
Once
It's
it
not,
reaches
it's not
30,
hurting
it's-
anyone. It's in my car.
Actually, she's saving lives. She keeps
Yeah.
she keeps plastics from hurting the
I
environment.
hoard them. I'm building
She just loves
I'm making an
them.
art project.
Well, that means that you're top of the pyramid now. You're
I'm
ready
actualized.
ready for your creative endeavors.
Yeah,
Okay.
anyways.
On to happiness, according to Arthur Brooks, the combination of three things: enjoyment plus purpose plus satisfaction. So enjoyment, not the same thing as pleasure. So enjoyment, instead of being like, I don't know, what's a good example. Again, it could be like the new car and things like that, but enjoyment from things like spending time with family, enjoyment from a hobby, you know, those are things that bring you enjoyment that aren't just like quick rewards enjoyment.
That's the nurturing ones, like relationships, for example, like, you need to nurture those for them to be fulfilling.
Yeah.
But they give happiness constantly, right?
Yeah, but it's also something that you have to put into
Yeah.
to get that out. Yeah.
A friend of mine has this analogy that whenever she's in like a pickle, I say pickle, like a real rough patch in her life, she has like a million, I don't know, 20 people that are willing to drop what they're doing and come see her. And she always says, because I water my plants.
Yeah, because she's put all that into there.
Yeah, that they'll be there for me when I'm not good, and I'm there for them when they're not good. And those relationships are fulfilling, right? Because you know that those people love you.
That's actually a part that I'll get onto later, where I was talking about the difference between the real friends and deal friends. So people
Reason or season.
Yeah, like, you know, and I loved that phrase. I thought that was so good. And then the next one obviously was purpose, which I actually then talked about with Todd actually when I was over in the carver room 3 hours ago.
The other day.
Or I mentioned Ikigai, you know, like the Japanese
your book.
Yeah, well, it's just that I'll bring up everything of what Ikigai is, and I will insert the graph as well. I will ask to have the graph inserted.
The problem is because when you told me you were reading that book, I was like, that's great that you're reading that book. But my ex was reading that book when we broke up, and he kept talking about it nonstop, and I just hated him so much at that point.
That you were like,
that I was like, shut the fuck up about your Ikigai.
Well, you're going to have to deal with me talking about Ikigai right now. The graph is really pretty, though. Ikigai. It's a very pretty graph.
Yes, yeah.
So you have
seen this, yeah.
Yeah. Passion and what you're good at for your profession. And then what can you be paid for, profession, vocation. And then what the world needs, mission, and then mission, what you love, passion.
And then you find your Ikigai, which is the combination of all of them.
All of those, yeah.
My problem is, genuinely, is I think that all of those circles don't, like, I think all of my circles of, like, what I could be paid for, what I love, don't touch, and I need them to touch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, you're really young, that's the thing, like...
I'm 23.
Yeah.
I'm so young. I'm just a baby.
Let me go back and then I can read out what Ikigai is from. Ikigai. A reason to live. Ikigai is a Japanese term that blends two words, iki meaning to live and gai meaning reason, which translates to a reason to live. It's a concept that encourages people to discover what truly matters to them and to live a life filled with purpose and joy. And I really recommend the book about this as well because it's very beautiful, and it's more centered around longevity, which obviously is a big passion of mine. So people who live in Okinawa are some of the happiest, and they have the oldest group of centennials in the world, so people who've lived into their hundreds, and they celebrate birthdays, they play sports, they garden every day. Like, it's just really, really nice.
Yeah. That's beautiful. It's a beautiful description. I think that's a beautiful meaning, as well as, like, to incorporate work into it, because I think it's a very...
That's the bit that we segment in Western culture.
100%.
You work so that you can party on the weekend, and you create this separateness.
But this is making...
Work hard, play hard.
Your life, this is making it like a holistic, what we were talking about before. Like, you take a look at your life and you look at what do you love, what are you good at, and you live your life like that, because it's not... Living realistically, work is life. That's a big part of your life. It's, at a minimum 40 hours a week.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big part of your life.
I mean, for me, like, my job's been, it's given back to me a lot, like, in terms of what I feel it does, like, being able to help others. But I
also got me from it.
Yeah, I did. That's how we met. Like, I was her personal trainer. I was Liv's personal trainer, and that's how we met. And I get so much back from that job that it's been beautiful. But I also know that it's not what I'll be in forever. But I need to make sure that I have this going on still throughout, because I can't live without that. Yeah. I need to have meaning and purpose in order to do a job, which is I guess hard to do in modern life, but you can do it. It's joining all those things together. What are you good at? What can you be paid for? What are you passionate about? What will make a difference?
And that's where I think that, like, I don't get fulfillment in my job again, because we've talked about this before a little bit, but, like,
there's a commonality I've seen among people who work for other people, like in jobs like yours.
Like, I'm really good at my job, and I've got a really good job, and I love the people I work with. I agree with my mission, like my company's mission statement. I do. Fundamentally, I believe in all of it, but I'm not fulfilled in it because I'm not passionate about it. Like, it doesn't give me any joy. at all. Like I love working with my team. I get joy from them on a day-to-day basis. So that's fantastic. But that's through relationships.
Yeah.
I'm a relationships person though.
Yeah, exactly. So it could be any role at that point. It
could
that's
be.
what you're getting from it. So it's finding what's really going to be the job that you want to be doing.
This supportive.
Like do this. Yeah,
Like and subscribe.
Oh yeah, my gosh, we keep forgetting
Yeah, I
to say
know.
that. And anyway,
We're
do
bad.
it now. We want this to be our ikigai.
Yeah.
Love us. Next section is satisfaction. And this is a really fascinating part, and this is actually one of my favorite bits to research.
Just one point. I think we'll put all the links for all of the.
Oh, we will. Yeah, for all of these.
For everything into the description because I would probably be open now to reading Ikigai because I really agree.
Also purpose doesn't have to be like the way that I put it there. It can also be obviously your family, your faith.
Yeah.
There are many things that can come from that.
100%. But fulfillment, it's have a purpose for what you're doing every day.
Yeah, get up with something going.
But also just for a bigger picture as well, life like. And again, it's so easy, and this is what the race I think I've been caught up in is the rat race.
Yeah.
Which we just work to get up the ladder, but it's not really like a purpose in life. Like we're not living to. We literally for the last 4 years, I've not been living to like, have good experiences, build meaningful relationships, be happy. I've been living to climb that ladder so that eventually I will be in a position where I have enough money that I have. A massive salary that I can do whatever I want. But it's like, forward thinking, if I look at my life in 10, 15 years after I've lived 10, 15 years climbing the ladder, what am I going to have?
Have you had time to go
do you know how many relationships I've sacrificed because I was working? Like, it's you just get stuck in that. So I think you need to have a bigger purpose. You need to have something you need to have a value system that holds you grounded in life.
100%. There's I'll get on to. I'll give you one quote on satisfaction, then we'll move into that.
I keep spoiling.
No, it works. No, it's perfect. It doesn't spoil anything. It's exactly part of the conversation. I'm like, great, we're on the same page, and so much of this is coming up. It's coming up. It's coming up naturally for you anyway, and it's come up in my thoughts as I've been putting this together. Next part I was going to say, so huge. I thought this was such a great way to break it down. Arthur Brooks says that satisfaction is. How did he? I want to read out exactly how it's worded. Where did I put it? Dun, 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 dun. Satisfaction, have divided by want. So, and the Dalai Lama said.
The Dalai Lama. We're getting real sophisticated today.
Yeah, I did a lot of research.
We went from drinking wine on the couch to the Dalai Lama.
To me quoting the Dalai Lama in my fishing hat. We need to learn how to want what we have, not to have what we want, in order to get steady and steady to stable satisfaction. Satisfaction, have divided by want. Sure, you can increase your satisfaction. This is not the Dalai Lama. This is back to Arthur Brooks. Sure, you can increase your satisfaction permanently by having more. Or you can work on the denominator by of halves by dividing by wants. Should I say that again?
I think you should break it down
even more
for me, a child, the brain of a child.
Satisfaction. I'll put it up as as an actual thing so you can see have over want. Like you can increase your satisfaction permanently by having more. So you could have more if you wanted. But again, you're still going to want more.
Yeah.
Or you could focus on wanting less.
Yeah. Okay.
So then you'll know what you have. You'll want for less things.
Yeah.
So this is where we get on to the next section, which is called the reverse bucket list. Which will come after this little portion, where we break down lasting sources of happiness. Faith and life philosophy, which is what you were just saying, having a bigger purpose, I guess. Like it's talking about, that can be different for anyone. Because that could be someone's faith, that could be, but it doesn't have to be an organized religious thing. It could be going for a walk in nature every day, just something that zooms you out of your current setting and your little day-to-day life things to go, I'm so insignificant.
Yeah.
If that makes sense, in a good way though. You have that scope. We need that.
I used to do every single day. I used to do after work pottery.
Yes.
I used to do it every single day after work.
Yeah,
I bought
mindfulness exercise.
Yeah, I bought not a kiln. I bought a wheel, like a wheel to throw at home. And that for me was the biggest therapy that I could have ever paid for. It was like a $300 wheel. It was shit. It was like, I got backaches from it because it was so low to the ground. But making something with my hands brought me so much closer to everything else because I don't even know why. It was just like creating something from nothing that I thought was so beautiful. And I wasn't very good at it. I was okay. It was pretty good. That was fucking amazing.
She's like, I'm actually amazing.
I was
at it.
actually amazing at it.
I actually have a lot of her bowls in my house. They're
You
great.
do have a lot of bowls.
They're beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's meditation
That
for a lot
was-
of
it
people.
was
And that is
meditation.
it's like moving
It's
meditation.
taking yourself out of what Eckhart Tolle said, being present. You're in the moment. There's nothing in the
You
world.
can do it
that
with dishes. Again,
Yeah.
like people say, like to be present, like while you're doing the dishes is very important rather than just like mindlessly wasting that time.
Well, doing the dishes. I'd rather fantasize about something else. Well, rather than doing the dishes, but another point. I
Wrong.
agree with.
You'll never be happy.
I will never be happy. I'm always happy.
I'm telling on you. I'm gonna tell Eckhart
Who are you
Tolle
telling?
you're not being present.
Eckhart's gonna get on this.
Dear
Pa-
Dalai Lama.
Part of our 101 fans.
It'd be like your task of today is to be present while washing
the
dishes. The next one after faith and life philosophy is family. Focusing on the ties that bind but don't break. The ties, this is our same talker, Arthur Brooks. Don't focus on the little things. Like, think about who you're going to call at 2 a.m. And if you're still going to be calling those family members, then don't let things get in the way of that relationship. You know, obviously, this is now me talking. I still believe in setting boundaries. We know that we've known people whose family members are crossing them and not great and causing ill to their life. So if those are those people, obviously keep your boundaries strong and stuff like that. But, you know, still keep the family you can keep.
I think of family I probably think of family differently. Maybe not. I think a lot of people probably think of family this way. My family, the people that I would call my family are, my family by blood. Some are not. They're the relationships that I hold dear to my heart. Like, I'm a very big relationships person. Like, if you know me, if the people that know me, I could call at 2:00 in the morning and they would answer. And they could call me at 2:00 in the morning and I would answer.
Unless your phone's dead while you're in the airport.
Yeah, well, unless my phone's dead, because it does die a lot. Except for right now, because it's on charge. But I fully believe that, like, say, my good friends, like, say you.
Oh, the next one is friends.
You, Taylor, etc. But it loops into the same thing. It's not my friends. Like,
your chosen family.
It's my chosen family, and I believe it's the same. Like, it's not the same, but some of those relationships are.
I think it should be if the friendship is. If you want to garner a real friendship with someone, it should be the lines begin to blur between what's family and what's friends.
These are friendships. I'm talking like 23. I'm 23, so no. These are friends that I've had for 24 years. You know that they're. Where does the family, you know?
Where does it become family? If it's not after 24 years.
If it's not after 24 years.
No, I completely agree.
But those relationships give me so much joy.
And the last one on this list was meaningful work, which then goes back into the Ikigai again. So these sorts of notions are kind of across many places. I think just having that, like, house of things. Like, I'm trying to remember what the phrase is in Tereo Māori, but there's, like, the house of health, where it's, like, got the walls, you got, like, and one of them is, like, it's, like, you know, spirituality, your community, like, your actual body, your mind, and, you know, your house.
It's balance, right? It's watering all of your plants.
And that's actually a bit we'll talk about. Actually, maybe we should bring that up.
How many more segments are there?
Well, the next
part episode, guys.
The next part, it's a bit more, it's just wordy in terms of, it's not actually that much. But the next part we're going to talk about is the gratitude. It's about bringing gratitude back in, how we can actually have happiness, fulfillment in everyday life.
This is something I'm going to interrupt you before you start, because I think you have a portion there afterwards that's what do we think is happiness? And gratitude, that's it for me. Like, that is absolutely the only thing, not the only thing, but it's a big part of what I attribute to happiness. I've gotten recently, and I'd say this year, but like the past year that's just been, obviously we're January right now, I've gotten a lot more spiritual, and I don't know what I believe in. I can't really definitively say I believe in God or I believe in this. I definitely believe in the universe. That's the ruling principle that I have in my life, is the universe wills it, it will be. But gratitude, and that's what I think a lot of religion is. If you boil it down and strip it back, it's praying. You're paying gratitude for what you have.
That I have.
You're wishing well for what you want. You're hoping for things. It's showing that you're grateful every single day for the things that people take for granted. I did this thing a couple years ago. I was in a very, very bad place in my life, and my boss at the time paid for me to do this course. 'Cause not for work, just you're sad and I want to help you get out of this. It was a very kind gesture. I did this, it was called the Happiness Challenge. And every single day you had a group chat of like 20 people. Every single day you posted 5 things that you were grateful for.
I love that.
5 things that you were grateful for. It was, sometimes it was so stupid and mundane, but it's not. I'm grateful for the sunrise this morning. I'm grateful for the water that's running in my tap. I'm grateful for the hot shower that I just took. I'm grateful for the cozy bed that I got to sleep in. It's bringing it back to everything that we have that we take for granted every day. Because then, the next day one of the rules was you couldn't use the same thing the next day. Like if you said it, you said it once.
Well, that's good, because this is literally what my next page is going to be after this one.
Amazing.
And it's all about the same challenge, though, essentially.
Gratitude. I think that is what if you want a quick way to try and be happier,
how did you
choose something that you're grateful for every single day.
How long was this challenge for?
20 days.
How did you feel at the end of it?
Amazing.
And did it, because in the one that,
it didn't cure me from.
No, that's not what we're asking.
It didn't at all. But it reminded me every single day that there is good things in my life.
But it made it better, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we're looking for. It's just,
even if it was 10 minutes a day.
Yeah. So the next segment we're going to be talking about, we'll go into what this one was. So I'll go into reverse. So there's 2 different ones here. The gratitude journaling, which there was actually a study done on that. So, because I've written a little thing here, does science back up being gratitude, or is it just woo-woo? And I'm very woo-woo anyway. Like, I just am. Like, I am a spiritual person, and this is like, but also I'm someone who believes that if it's not real, if it makes you feel better, then it's real. Does that make sense? Anyway. But anyway, I'm very woo-woo, but there is a study. So, the Journal of Positive Psychology found in a study that the concept of grateful recounting helped to improve participants' overall well-being. The study had participants sit down every day for a week and write down 3 good things that happened to them, all that they felt in the previous 48 hours. Not only did the practice become easier over time for those who wrote down their grateful recounting, it also found that they subjectively felt better when asked about their well-being. And this was the one that I was going to say we should do this week.
Yeah, I'm
until
happy
the next
to redo
episode,
it.
and just do it and see how we feel by next week. And this will be nice.
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. That's a practice that I really got out of, is because I did that challenge, and then as soon as I wasn't held accountable to it, I didn't do any. Sometimes I remind myself I'm grateful of this, grateful of that. But yeah, I think if we wanna put ourselves to the test, let's you and I every single day text each other
And be like, have you done it yet?
No, 3 things we're grateful for. You tell me, I tell you.
Sweet, let's do that.
Yeah. Yep. Deal.
We're doing that.
We're back next week.
And that actually that's actually worked really well, because I think it actually leads better into the next one. So, going back on ourselves a little bit, because I got obviously into the gratitude journaling and like bucket listing stuff. I then was like, but doesn't it make you feel good to like do bucket lists, because like they make you excited? So then I found another study.
You love research.
I fucking love a study, not gonna lie. That is like dirty talk to me, and I'm like, oh, is it peer reviewed? So
no,
2010.
just give me the footnotes.
Oh yeah, you don't want to do any of this. According to a 2010 study published in the Journal of Applied Research in Quality of Life, just planning or anticipating a trip can make you happier than actually taking it. Okay. While all vacationers enjoyed pre-trip happiness, the study's authors found that people only experienced a boost in happiness if their trip was relaxing. If their vacation was deemed stressful or neutral, their post-trip happiness levels were comparable to those who hadn't taken a vacation at all. So while planning does give us a boost of happiness, it isn't lasting. For many people, they can begin to feel weighed down by bucket lists hovering over us as this amalgamation of things we haven't checked off yet.
I get that. I get that on two folds, and I just want to ask another follow-up question on that. So while planning and getting excited, because it is exciting, you're like, I'm going on a trip,
So
amazing, beautiful,
that part
happy.
was across the board, made everyone
Across
happier.
the board makes everyone happy. But then it's like, you book the trip, amazing, I'm happy, I got something to look forward to. You've got 2 months until the trip, and you're like, shit, how am I going to fit everything in? How am I going to get there, and then it's the stress of planning it all. And then I would think that, but then my follow-up question is, did they do any research, and you might have said this, but in one ear out the other, did they do any research on the people who took the trip and the lasting memories that they had, and whether that made them happier? Because I'm all about the experience. Like,
no, they didn't cover like memories, but I guess that would make it a longer study, wouldn't it? Because they would have to go back and revisit all these people.
They would, but I would argue that nothing in the world
is better than
an experience.
And having experience. Well, I mean, that's the thing that I thought was also in there. That, like, I don't know how they rated their lasting happiness compared to people that hadn't taken a vacation at all. It was interesting to me that if it was relaxing, though, that they actually did have more lasting happiness. And I think the recommendation, I'm not sure how big of a study this was, the recommendation that they had given was that people take more frequent relaxing trips than saving everything off and doing one big, quite stressful trip.
Yeah, and then it's like all the marbles, all the money. It's like you've got 10 grand invested in it. It's got to be perfect.
Which again adds other stresses and other parts to it.
And as well, you have literally zero control about the weather. Yeah. So you could get somewhere, say you're going to, like, I don't know, Rarotonga or something, and it piss pours rain the entire trip. Yeah. And that's your one trip of the year. Yeah. That's, I argue that you can have fun wherever you are, but
agreed.
You know,
the takeaway from this was that the planning portion made them happy.
Yeah. So not for me. Absolutely not. I hate planning.
So I love planning.
I hate planning.
I could totally see this.
I'm a fly by the seat of my pants.
I wanted to look into this because then obviously the reverse bucket list is that instead of spending amounts of time looking at the things we haven't done, instead we bring our focus back to appreciating the things that we have accomplished in our lives. So sitting down, someone said online in one of these little forum things I was going through today that they do this on their birthday. So instead of like, what I'm going to do this year before I'm the next age, and making this like pressure on themselves, they look at what they've done in the last year and what made them feel happy and joyous and what they're grateful for that year.
It sounds really dumb. It probably sounds dumb, but I kind of do that at the end of every year because I do, and again, it sounds stupid, but I put like a reel together. It
doesn't sound stupid. Dan does the same thing. He does a great reel.
He does a great reel. I've seen it.
Yeah.
But I do a reel and I put like the videos of like, not all, but like some highlights of the year, and I look back on it and I'm like, oh my God, like this year, for example, I got to hug an elephant. I kissed an elephant directly on the trunk, like on its snouty bit. I kissed it on the snouty bit. Like that is probably the happiest day of my life. And I look back at that. I look back at the photos constantly. Bliss. I could have died in that moment and I would have been happy. It was the best day of my life. I love elephants though. I love.
Which is good because when I moved in with you, I brought
7 elephants.
So many elephants with me.
But yeah, I would argue.
Elephant in the room.
So yeah, I think the reverse bucket list, like looking back on the things that you've accomplished in the year, and they don't even need to be big things.
No, it can be little things.
It could be like I moved out by myself, or I ran a 5K run. Like, let's celebrate the things that we've accomplished in life.
I made this friend. They were all like, they don't have to be like I jumped out of a plane or anything crazy.
That's one of like my favorite things this year. We met this year.
Yeah.
And it's like
last year now.
Whatever, January.
Yeah.
But look at that. Look at how that's evolved. It's like you never know who you're going to meet and what's going to happen. And does that not, reflecting on those experiences, does that not bring you more hope for what other opportunities are out there? I saw this beautiful post the other day. Absolutely stunning. I'm going to put it in somewhere.
I'll write it down.
Robyn saw it as well because I
love this. I posted it in my story too because I felt like it's really important.
It's beautiful.
We'll definitely put it in there.
But I'm going to try and summarize it the best that I can. The title is Ready, Set, Don't Go. And then the post is 10 years from now, it's a spring Saturday morning in 2035. You're standing in the yard of the house you bought in 2034, humming a song from a 2033 album by your favorite band, who you found out about in 2032, waiting for the dog you got in 2031 to finish doing their business, wearing your comfiest pajama pants, a birthday present you received in 2030 from a friend you met in 2029. You're planning to spend the afternoon gardening, a hobby that you picked up in 2028. Later, you might rewatch a movie that you love, the one that won Best Picture in 2027. Inside, someone you met in 2026 is making pancakes, all because your world didn't end in 2025. I love it so much. It killed me when I read it.
I just thought it was the most beautiful thing. I was like, that isn't. I was like, I had to message you, be like, I'm immediately putting that up because
so I think
people need to hear that.
100%. The purpose
This
of
isn't
it
the end.
is
This
the
isn't
purpose
it.
of it was like suicide prevention,
Yeah.
right? It's don't end your life in
go.
2025. Don't go. But I think on like a deeper scale as well, it's just anybody, even happy people. How many opportunities are waiting for you in life?
And
like,
those aren't crazy big things, like
No.
bucket list things. They are
those are day to
beautiful,
day.
day-to-day,
Met a good
achievable.
friend, met a boyfriend,
Yeah.
bought a dog, bought a house. That's day to day life that you're gonna look back
Don't
on.
say
in
bought a
10
house too loudly in Auckland.
No, I know. All right, yeah. You can never buy a house.
Don't put achievable.
You rented a
but-
house.
You rented
You
a
rented a
house.
flat with 6 flatmates. Whatever.
You and
But
18 of your best friends
Yeah.
bought a house together.
all of them that you met in 2033. But no, I thought that quote was so beautiful, just to like express how many beautiful things there are waiting
Did
for
it
you
say
in life.
who was the writer? We have to find the writer and make sure we.
It'll be on
credit
that
them.
It'll be on that page.
All right, now we are going to go into our last little segments, which is going to be what is happiness to us, and that also includes you guys. So we're going to read it out. We actually got so many.
Yeah, thank you so much to the viewers that have submitted their responses. It means a lot to us that you're able to be a part of the discussion.
So everyone answered so many were so different, which was really nice. So the question I posed was, what do you believe happiness is? How do you create a happy life? Being mentally, physically, spiritually, and financially good makes a happy life. # content life.
I support that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well-rounded.
Well-rounded. I think spirituality is a big part of it.
Yeah, being mentally in your good space yourself. And I still think that if you're financially not well off and if you're, maybe having mental struggles, it doesn't mean you can't have a happy life. But I don't think that's what they meant either. I think
No,
that,
I don't think they meant
They just
that.
meant they want to be comfortable in all those aspects.
I think they meant like strive for being well-rounded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next one, accepting yourself and everyone around you. You can't change people. Que sera, sera. I was like, that's really beautiful. And I completely agree with that. Once you accept yourself, you can accept other people so much easier as well, because we all know we're flawed.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's a big part as well of, and just to add my hot take on this, I think a big part of like being unhappy, not happy, but being a big part of being unhappy is comparison.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
comparing yourself to
thief of
other-
joy, they say.
Yeah, thief of joy. It's so I think social media has done a lot for this. It's because when you're seeing
You
people's
mean a
social
lot
media,
for making comparisons.
Yeah, because you see people's 1% happy moment. You don't
Yeah.
see the 99% of their life. You see that 1% that I've saved up to go on a holiday, and you're
Yeah.
looking at that, you're like, everyone's on holiday.
Yeah, everyone's got a house, a car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
everyone's
it's really
achieving things
It's
differently
really,
to me.
really easy to put yourself down and be negative and be unhappy because you're looking at what other people have done.
Next one, money, family, sex, and no fucks. Those last two go against each other, but I know what they meant.
Yeah. I think they meant don't care.
No
Yeah.
cares.
But on that, like, don't take things too seriously.
Yeah,
Agree.
don't. Love that. Contentment, love that.
Yeah.
Is the next one. And then we've got one of my friends wrote in saying, I had a massive depressive episode and I'm still recovering from, but exercise, sun, and loved ones, and learning to be present, not to overthink, worry, and appreciate the good people around you.
That's
Love
amazing.
that.
And I like that. Yeah.
The next one was nature, archery, horses, romance, movement, reading, learning, and children.
So those
which is purpose. A lot of, and hobby is like enjoyment.
and those are the things that make them happy.
Yeah.
That's great. That's absolutely great.
Maddie wrote well, which I can only take as flirtation.
It probably is.
Justin Bieber, what are you
Probably
doing?
is.
being secure within yourself, not letting external factors decide your internal state. I love that. Yeah, that's like back to Eckhart Tolle's
a lot
life
of these relate
situation.
back.
They do. There's so much of this.
Well,
that's
like,
why I wanted to do it at the end. 'Cause it's just nice.
They said it before as like be present. That's exactly what what he was talking about before.
Saho, feel good about myself and eat yum food and prob going beaches and cuddle with Zen is what is her son. And then stay away from toxicity made my life so much better.
Yeah, just don't have room. There's this expression that I love. I love it so much. It's called "Don't catch the ball," and it refers to when people are in a negative cycle and it's called tribulation, I think.
Like let it
no,
drop.
It's not tribulation. It's called triangulation. When you get into this cycle of child and parent, and because you're supposed to be the adult always in like psychology. We'll get into that another day, but. Basically, if I go to you and I go like, oh my God, Todd's such an asshole. He did this and he did this and he did that and he did that. Your response is you don't catch the ball.
Yeah.
You don't go, yeah, he is such a jerk.
Yeah,
he is such an
that's
idiot.
triangulation.
You go,
So you get caught
like,
into
I'm really sorry that you had that experience. Like, you don't need to be mean to the other person, but it's like, I'm really sorry you had that experience. Like, what can you do to move forward or feel better about this? Like, do something constructive rather than feed into
it,
the toxicity.
carrying on, and let it build, snowball.
I enjoyed that 30 seconds that I did that. I was like, oh, fucking asshole.
Like, you know what he is?
He's a fucking dick.
Next one, music for one, but being able to do what you want and look after your family.
Yeah.
That's nice, yeah.
I think that relates back to like purpose, right? Their purpose is their family.
Yeah, and their enjoyment is music.
Yeah.
And then love, self and others, understanding and compassion as much without exception. As much as possible without exception.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one was just wordy, so that kind of...
Love for the self of others.
Love for the self of others.
And others.
Okay.
Understanding and compassion.
Relationships.
Yeah. Just showing compassion where you can. Next one, passion, achieving goals, having freedom and love. Yeah, I agree. I do agree. Freedom is a big part of finding happiness in this life. For me, happiness is feeling of wholeness, fullness in your life, though good and bad.
Wholeness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well-rounded again.
Yeah.
Maslow's hierarchy of needs, bro.
Really came
It's
in
just-
clutch today. And then eat carbs and get both kinds of vitamin D.
I agree with the carbs.
I agree with her.
I agree with the carbs.
She's from Canada. She doesn't need the sun.
No, we don't know what that is.
Living in accordance with your own values and freedom from ego. I agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, a huge part of like why people get locked into lots of negative emotions and mindsets is because they find attachment to their ego too great. And we are attached. We obviously they're part of us, but making that your whole identity is an issue for a lot of people.
Well, it's
for all of us.
it stems from insecurity, right? It's ego and insecurity, or like fighting the natural fight. It's
you felt like that kind of come back at you, that partial ego death time, and then
I had ego death.
It latches back onto you.
does.
Like the ego is like, no, I want to live.
Yeah, I had like this I had this moment of clarity and beauty and like connection, and everything was beautiful, and then my ego just came back in, and it was fucking horrible.
Angry.
Like I can't even watch that video back. It's so embarrassing.
Oh, it's fine though, and it was like it's expected as well. And again, that's why you don't feed it. You don't feed that ball. You just
That's why we don't
show
hang out with our
love.
friend Shroomy too often.
This is all on video.
Yeah.
Yeah, she had on video.
We recorded
her
our
first
my
time
first
of like
trip,
feeling full like oneness and being. It's probably my favorite video ever, and I hope we release part of it someday, just like a mini bit of it.
We will.
Because there's a bit in it where she's like, I'm reaching out and I'm holding on to this vape, and it's just the fact that she's looking at the vape like it's God.
It is my God.
And I was just like loving
The
her.
vape
And
is
she was
my
like,
religion.
She was like, no, you don't get it. And I was like, no, I do. You're just so adorable right now, and watching this back is
I try.
Is going to be so great. Next one, helping people out. Agree.
Yeah.
Helping people out. It makes a big difference
Yeah,
to your life
comes back
and joy.
to purpose.
Yeah, comes back to purpose. Next one, my daughter, food, time for myself, self-care, training, time with fam and friends.
Yeah, well-rounded.
Well-rounded. Next one, only having people around you that would defend your name in a room you're not in.
That's beautiful.
I love that one.
I think that's loyalty in relationships, which comes back to watering your plants, like
Yeah, I really like that
good
one.
relationships.
I also asked a second question, which was, does age have any relation to levels of happiness? But I think we should save all these ones for an age episode.
Yeah, we can do.
Because there's so
Yeah.
many things we can cover in that.
Save it. Can you save story notes or story responses?
I'll just screenshot them later.
Yeah, sweet. Yeah,
Yeah.
do that. Okay.
All right, now let's move the camera so we can see Todd.
We have a guest.
We have a guest. All right. And for our final segment, we have Todd on the screen now.
Kia ora.
As you can all see, if you are watching and if you're just listening, you will hear the soothing tones of Todd. Tell us, what is happiness to you?
Man, at its most simple form, I think happiness is it's just that, simplicity. I think people talk a lot about, buying things that's going to make them happy and all that. I just want to own my time. And I don't think I'll ever be one of those dudes who's like a multi-millionaire or like $20 million. Like, honestly, once I get enough money to carve out the ideal existence, which is simple for me, I want like a bush cabin with like a stream going near it, and maybe
beautiful.
a house near the city somewhere. Enough money to like not worry about money, families looked after, and enough money to travel. That's all I want. I don't even want to stay in fancy
I was
places.
going to say,
when
that's
I
the
travel.
perfect way for it. That's like exactly what I'm looking for, is just that
Yeah.
place that you can go to that's your blissful place, a place you can go to so you can reach your community again, and then the resources to be safe and also to travel and see new things with those that you love.
Yeah.
And I heard this thing one day that was like, because everybody's so focused on money, right? The normal Western culture, everybody's like, how much money can I acquire to live happy and free? And it was doing it kind of like the reverse bucket list. It was like, put down on pen and paper the life that you want and work backwards from that. Because normally it's achievable to live a very happy, fulfilled, content life within means and within reasons. You don't need to be stupid rich. It's just we kind of, I think as a society, we go the complete other end and we look at people with Lamborghinis and mansions and we're like, we want that. But really, you look at it, you're like, what do I need? I need a nice house. I want a nice house. I want to support my family. I want time for myself. I want holidays. Depends on, like, ranges, obviously, what's important to some people. Some people, it might be important to drive around in a Lamborghini. I'm sure it is for a lot of people. But if you backtrack and look at what your life looks like and then how much money you need, it's actually not millions.
It's not. I think also with saying, I want to own my time, that doesn't mean I want to just do nothing. But it's that, I know you guys were talking about the Ikigai thing, having purpose. But like whatever that would be, if I had enough money to travel, travel would become more my purpose. But I have enough like passions in life that, some I'd like to rekindle, like more time to go skateboarding and photography. I always have my cameras with me, even though sometimes I don't use them, but it's a part of me.
We both love taking photos. It's a big passion of both of ours, actually.
Yeah, I've always been like a natural documentarian when I was a kid. Yeah, that's kind of happiness for me. But on that topic, an interesting connection with kava. Kava makes us feel relaxed, makes us feel content. Some people, I've heard it called liquid happiness or something like that. But the country that this kava comes from, and the country that, if you look at the plant from an ethnobotanical standpoint, kava was first cultivated and consumed by humans in Vanuatu. Now, Vanuatu is, it's funny because even a lot of people in New Zealand don't even know where Vanuatu is. It's kind of like west of Fiji. It's not far from where we are right now. But every year they, maybe it's not every year. I should have looked this up. But there's a World Happiness Index, right? And Vanuatu often scores very highly on that happiness index. And it's very community-oriented. The people are very respectful generally and polite, and it's just a nice place to be. But I also think kava has something to do with people's happiness there.
Well, especially because kava isn't just the drink, it's that community sitting down and talking, and communication makes, I mean, what a world of difference it would have made to like a million marriages out there and families out there if people sat down and talked.
That's
Also, I have to say, like, West of Fiji would make a great band or indie film name.
yeah. It's another one I saw. I think the country of Bhutan has some sort of a happiness, not a happiness index, but it's like they measure their country's wealth in terms of the happiness of the people. And I saw a snippet of an interview. It was like one of these 2020 type shows. It was an American presenter interviewing this guy from Bhutan. And she's like, yeah, your country has a lot of beautiful mountains, but you don't allow them to be climbed on. Why not? And the guy was like, it's very easy for Bhutanese people to understand this. The mountains are sacred. They're like almost like deities. We don't touch them. We leave them alone. And that right there is like, okay, the mountains are dangerous. People die every year climbing mountains. But it's almost like embedded in their traditional knowledge is like, okay, those things are there. There's dangerous things out there. If everyone's goal is to like venture in there and climb them, one, it does do damage to the environment, but two, it takes lives. So maybe we'll deify these mountains. They're off limits, and everybody's just okay with that.
It's an easy rule.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like very, very small scale version of that. When you look at the differences in different festivals in New Zealand compared to, so you see how land is just trashed after festivals, right? Well, I went to Ohm Festival, not this year gone, but the year before for New Year's. And they have it as a blanket rule that we are to leave absolutely nothing, including what they call moop, which is like bits of glitter and things like that are included. And when we left on New Year's Day, after New Year's Day, it was clean. The place looked beautiful. You did not litter. There were no bins on site. Whatever you had, you were taking with you. So there was no glass allowed either. Like it was very like strict to that rule, but everyone just adhered to it because it was the culture of the place that people didn't want that. We didn't want the land to be trashed when we left. We wanted it to be beautiful and respected so we could come back, the next year and do it again. And when I saw that, I was like, that is so easy to create in day-to-day life. I mean, even Nisha came back from Japan and she said they don't really have bins anywhere in the streets. They have to carry their stuff with them home and it's so clean. And I was like, that is a beautiful thing to hear about.
I think it's just a culture and it's a respect. Like a lot of Aboriginal cultures, say across or indigenous cultures, I don't know what the correct terminology is. They've got much more of a profound relationship to land, and I think it's like say Japan. It's a respect thing. It's respecting the land and the country and the not only that, but the people and your people that you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis. Like I'm not going to litter because it's creating a negative environment for you.
People go into each other's houses and throw litter on the floor.
Yeah, no.
Why would I do it outside? It's all of us.
Exactly. But I think it's. I attribute a lot of problems to Western society. It's just our fast-paced lack of care for things. And I'm not saying that's a blanket across everybody, because there are 100% of groups that care about a lot of things. But it's the way we live. It's like, but also everything is takeaway. Like you've got so much garbage, so much packaging. I was in the supermarket the other day and I saw bananas with wrapping paper on them. Wild.
They are naturally wrapped.
They are.
They come with the wrapping.
They have a wrapper on them. It was wild.
The next question would be, how do you find your happiness daily? What do you practice for happiness or lead into your family for happiness? Or what would you like to introduce into your family for happiness?
Yeah, I've been trying to concentrate on this more. Things got a little bit crazy last year. And just with how busy I get in life. And I think I am prone to feeling overwhelmed and it can sometimes just shut you down. But I've found, been doing this for about a year, just under a year, like meditation. It's like, like Sufi style. I've been studying Sufism and Sufi meditation, and I'm getting a lot out of it.
Can you give a brief description of Sufi meditation for anyone listening?
Well, Sufism is it's the basically the mystical branch of Islam, and I'm a very beginner. So I read about it years ago, and it just kind of made me interested. A lot of the old Islamic scholars in ancient times were Sufis and poets, things like that. That famous poet Rumi.
Yes, I love
Sufi.
Rumi.
Yeah. So that piqued my interest, and then I read about it, kind of kept it in mind, and then I was going through some stuff, and I was like, I need something. So I reached out and met a guy who's kind of been guiding me through it, and it's beautiful. So far, so good. I'm getting a lot out of it. So I've been doing pretty much every day the Sufi style of meditation. It's there's a saying, whatever you start it, you set the intention, and then whatever happens during meditation is meditation. So there's none of this like I have to focus on my breathing or focus my thoughts, and like some pretty profound things come to you. Not right away. You have to kind of sit with it and be patient.
I was going to say, like with meditation, you do find that for anyone who hasn't started meditating and is feeling like there's like this exclusive way of meditating, like you can only go in if you have to have no thoughts at all, and that's only when you're meditating. No, meditation is what you make of it once you're in there. Exactly that sort of mindset around it is so great. Actually, back to Eckhart again. One of my favorite teachings he ever that I've read from him was regarding meditation. Was to get into that space in your head where you're imagining the next thought is about to come through the door, and you're just waiting for it to come through the door.
Yeah.
And you'll find that it takes a very long time. Whereas normally if you're trying to think of nothing, you get bubbles of thought. Well, I do. I get bubbles of thought come through, and I try and like pop each one in like a mental room in my head, or have many different practices. But that one was such a good way to begin the practice with it held back, if that makes sense. It was, I don't know, a really good way to do it. But also, you're not failing meditation if you're getting thoughts throughout. It's a practice for exactly that. You're practicing. Same with yoga. You're not going in to be this perfect person doing the perfect downward dog. You're there to practice, to get closer to yourself. And that's it.
That's it.
It's also like anything that you do for the first time, you're never going to be great at it. Like unless you're like a natural, you're never going to be great at it. Things take practice, they take time, and then you see it, you reap the benefits afterwards, and you just stick with it. It's continuity. I also like that it's been, because you're new to Sufism.
Yeah.
I love that. Like, I love that. I was talking to Robyn before about how last year in 2024 I got a little bit deeper into spirituality and like trying to understand more about religions and whatnot. I love that finding a different outlet and a different spirituality or a different pathway to religion, a different way to bring us closer to the divine, because I can't say what it is.
And to ourselves.
And to ourselves. I think that it's beautiful. It's like a continuous learning experience that you hear about something, it clicks with you, and you're like, I want to try that.
Yeah. It's if you're patient with it and you learn as much as you can and are doing things for the right reasons, I don't think there's one path that's the absolute path to, divinity or whatever. But
no, I
there's,
completely agree with that.
Everyone finds their way, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm still new to this, but so far it's worked for me more than anything else. But yeah, I've been doing that. On a daily basis. I don't drink kava every day, but I find the days I do, it helps me slow down a bit. With the school holidays have been on, and like the twins, they're almost 4. They've been at home. They went back to daycare today. I'd wake up in the morning and I got so much stuff to do, and they're there, and like, because we went to Fiji over the holidays. It was a nice break, but not a restful one. Came back, my wife has to go.
Did you find that planning the trip was more?
Yeah. Oh man. And my wife, we when we came back, she goes back into the office where she's working, doing research stuff, and I was like at home with the twins, and part of me wanted to be like, they're just gonna watch cartoons today. I got stuff to do, but I get so much joy out of playing with them.
Yeah.
They're super fun. Like we built this little fish pond in our tiny front yard. They like love it. It's got 3 goldfish and some
Oh, that's
tadpoles.
so cute.
And I feel like a kid again. Yeah, that kind of stuff. It's bringing it back to like simplicity and not rooting your happiness in material stuff. So,
Which is a big thing. It's finding what really matters, boiling it down to that and being grateful for them. And that's what we found. That's what most of the research shows. And that's luckily what our friends have come to the conclusion of, which is really nice as well. And yeah, being grateful. I think we've said for the next week we're going to go back to, well, I'm going to start and you're going to go back to gratitude recounting. So we're going to send each other 3 things we're grateful for each day and do that for next week and see what kind of effect that has on us.
and I want to say, I guess, one more thing on the topic that you were kind of touching on before about Western society breeds this kind of, it's individualism, right? We've essentially like removed ourselves from nature for one, but we've also neglected the fact that as humans we're communal social beings. And one thing I've learned from spending a lot of time in the Pacific Islands, mainly in Tonga, is I guess their form of ikigai would be that community. They call it kainga, which is like extended family, or tauhiva, the maintenance of relationships between people. And I'm not an expert on this either, but I definitely have noticed people in the islands live for the community. And I've learned a lot. It's been so profound that it would be hard for me to ever, I don't know, move to a place where it's fully individualistic. And it seems that's the savage way of living. It's so ironic that all these so-called civilized cultures would call like traditional indigenous cultures savages when they actually, what they got going on is really special.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important like topic to broach on is community. Because if we strip back who we were thousands of years ago living in like hunter-gatherer colonies, our entire dependence of surviving was on communities. It was relying on each other. And Western cultures moved so far away from that you're right, it is individuals. It's how can me and my island, like my immediate family, be the best off, not looking after and tending to. Obviously there's exceptions here and there. And like a lot of people do value family and whatnot, but I think as a whole, as a society, we've moved to looking after number one. And I get that for one reason or another, it happens. It's not, people monetary, financial, they've got to look after themselves. But how much fulfillment do you get from spending time with family, extended family? What's that word? You said kainga? Kainga.
So in the Tongan language, when I first came around to the Tongan culture, I was curious about why they would use the word family for like nuclear family. Because it's clearly a loan word off of family. And the reason is because before Europeans arrived with that nuclear family mindset, there was no Tongan concept of like just mom, dad, and the kids being a family.
Oh,
Kainga,
it was everyone always connected.
Yeah, kainga is a very far-reaching concept of family.
I love that.
That's how trees must see each other, all connected by the roots in their little groups. That's so nice. Yeah. We need more of that. That's what we're trying to do with this, and that's what we would like to do with this.
Yeah, we as Westerners, or whatever you want to call it, we have a big job in trying to change the culture of our societies. It's becoming pretty insidious, huh? And I'm not saying it's got to be a transformative shift, one where everyone has this collective change of heart or mindset where it actually shifts our way of living to become more harmonious.
I'm really hopeful that it will.
The way things are going, it's becoming more individualistic, more just binary thinking. It's like someone's good or they're bad, or you have to be flexible in your thinking, and I think that actually plays into people's happiness as well. When your thinking is very binary and you dichotomize everything, then there is no middle ground, right?
No.
There's left and right, and all these.
That's exactly what it is. I think one of the benefits of growing older, and like again, I say this, I'm 23 years old.
Me too.
We're all 23. One of the benefits of growing older is like I used to be, and I can say this, I'm not proud of it, but it's the way I was. I used to be so definitive that no, that's wrong. You're a bad person. That's wrong. You did something wrong. But growing up and making my own mistakes, watching people make mistakes, I say this all the time. I think I said it to you today. I was like, have grace, give grace, be gracious. Like, you know, even to yourselves, it's not black and white. There is so many middle grounds. Like, talk about good versus evil. We're all of it. There are evil parts of all of us and there are good parts of all of us. It's, you know, what we choose to act on, of course, but there is no middle ground. Like, it's all middle ground basically.
Yeah.
It's all gray. It's all a gray area.
The saying of like the good needs evil, and or like if political terms, like the left needs the right needs the left, because you think of it like a bird needs two wings to fly. Like a one-winged bird will never fly. So it's all about. I've been thinking about this because I'm from the United States originally, and I see the polarization there. And like one of the symbols of the United States was the scale, right? That balances. That's representative there. There will be people on this side, people on this side, but where it comes in the middle. But now we're off balance, it seems.
Gone massively off kilter.
I think, and I'm not trying to open up a debate on the states, but I think one of the problems that people have lost and we've lost as a civilization is the talent or the art of having a conversation, a debate, like sitting across the table from someone and saying, this is my perspective, they don't agree with it, but you can still talk about it, be able to argue your points. Whereas what I find happens now, they're deaf arguments where you just keep repeating the same point over and over, and I might never agree with you on it because it goes against my moral compass or my fundamental beliefs, but you can still respect someone as a person. You can still dialogue with them. You can still try and better understand why they think that way. And don't be ignorant to it. Just try and understand. Open up that conversation.
Yeah.
I always think, like, if you have those moments you reach like a stalemate or like an impasse with someone and you go, okay, we're not going to agree on the subject because I know that I'm never going to agree on this, and I can tell from the way that your stance is, you're never going to like agree either. Can we still show love, respect, compassion for one another? And if that's not the case, then we'll just have to move apart. But if we can, then we can move forward. Like, I know for a lot of people it's very, very hard, and I get in some instances, depending on what the politics are, it's very hard to keep a relationship going with someone of any kind if the politics don't line up. But especially when it comes to like family and like trying to keep people in the community still, try and find that commonality. I think they did a study. I slipped one more in after promising it was the last study, where they had people face to face. I think it was Americans actually. Was it? I have to find out. With people who they absolutely strongly disagreed with their politics, and they just had to stare at each other and like look at them for an hour. And it's like these were people they didn't see as people essentially, and find the human. And they would find the humanness over that time. I'll find the study and insert it. But fascinating one as well, like to see that they thought there was nothing they had in common. There was nothing they could see in the other person. But that's a dangerous way of thinking. Once we stop thinking people are people, that's where extremism comes from. That's definitely a source of unhappiness. And
that reminded me of one. I haven't read the study, but I heard about it. They got like Fox News viewers to watch CNN, and then vice versa, and people's minds actually started to shift after watching it. And it's like, just shows how malleable our minds can be if we expose ourselves to certain things and ideologies and so forth. But that's where I find meditation helps. You kind of retreat into your own pure thoughts without any external stimulus. But man, there's a lot of people, I don't know about in Canada and the UK, but like, you know how old people get older and it's like, okay, mom, you shouldn't be driving anymore. You're making some weird purchases on your bank account. I'm taking over. I think people as their parents' age are going to have to start putting parental controls on the TV because I know some people in my family back in the States, they're just flop down and it's like Fox News 24/7 and it's got to be like going crazy with mental health stuff. And it's not just Fox News. Whatever one you watch all the time is going to be,
I stopped watching and like call me ignorant, whatever. I get all my news from Instagram. I stopped watching the news. I used to be like on the BBC all the time, just looking at what's happening in the world. During COVID, I stopped watching the news altogether because it was making me miserable. It was just every day, and I understand COVID was like a unique event that happened, and we all lived through it, right? But we like everybody watching. Sorry, I don't know how to say that. Some people died. We lived.
Everyone lived.
But like they'd have the death count every single day, right? And it was just making me. It got to a point where like I was like anxious, like so anxious, and that I was like, I can't watch the news anymore because it's too negative.
Well, they've got us. They've got. I try not to fall into this, but they've got the majority of the population pinned on things like that. The anxieties are flaring. You can check the death counts. Or I don't know what's going on in the news today, but they'll have some hook that gets people coming back. I mean, the fucking shit's in your pocket too, you know. Like it's.
I don't watch any news. I try to avoid it as much as possible, and I've kind of. I think COVID may be one of the biggest things that did that to me. Although I did have my finger right on the pulse when that the CEO was shot by Luigi, because that was just.
I was into that.
That was so. When it was hot, it was amazing from the beginning. Just like the whole thing, like the broad daylight, New York, like all of it was. You were on it because of the story behind it and why it had happened. And everyone in like police and the news and everything pretending they had no idea why this man would get shot, and then to find out that he's also extremely sexy, and every photo was beautiful to the point where they tased him to try and make him look less cute, and they failed. We all went, oh.
It was a real Robin Hood kind of moment.
Oh, and I don't know. I have this like I think from being from Northern England, maybe I don't know. I had a very like. I don't know, I love a vigilante and I can't help it. It's bad because, don't kill people. But it was a beautiful story to follow on the news for once. We haven't had something like that in probably since Robin Hood.
Which do some reading about Robin Hood, and it's doubtful that the real Robin Hood ever existed. There's
Don't do that to me. It's like one of the only namesakes that I like.
I'm sorry. I shouldn't talk about that. But yeah, some people debate it. I read about it a little while ago after that whole Luigi thing.
Well, again, talking about hot people, the animated Robin Hood is just full of extremely sexy animals for no reason whatsoever.
The fox.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like Maid Marian and like has no business like looking up at you with those eyes, and then Robin Hood is just hot too. Friar Tuck wouldn't get it, but outside of that, the rest of them are pretty great. All right, let's wouldn't get it. Friar Tuck, more like Friar. All right, sound off. Happiness. One word for what makes you happy.
Gratitude.
Into the mic, Todd.
Oh.
And dogs.
Oh, man. Peace.
Love. I think that works, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, it's been great, guys. It's been a long one today. It's been a really nice time. Thank you for coming on, Todd. It's always a pleasure to have you.
Always a pleasure to be here in the Four Shells Cava Lounge, drinking cava.
This makes me happy.
Yeah, it does. It makes me happy, too. Thanks for tuning in to our 4th episode.
I don't know.
4th episode. Happiness. Poor decisions. La felicità.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Kakite.